Well, hello everybody, welcome back to my studio, to my creative corner. And in case you are new here, I'm glad you are here. Today I'm sharing the art supplies I actually use every week in my mixed media practice. Not a haul, not a wishful thinking, these are the real paints and pencils and whatnot that stay on my desk because I reach for them constantly. I'll show you what I use and why, and some little demos along the way. None of this is sponsored, it just simply works for me. Acrylic paints are my main medium. Mostly I have Amsterdam by Torrens. Mainly because I have easy access to those, but I do have other brands. Now, Amsterdam Soft Body, my everyday paint for paintings, for art journals, for whatnot. Affordable, reliable, great for layering. And they give me the matte finish I prefer for my mixed media projects. Recently I bought from the Expert series, also from Amsterdam, the Expert acrylics, which are a heavy body. I want to experiment a little bit more with texture, especially for my upcoming solo show in May. So I really like that you can texture them a little bit better than the soft body. I also do have the Amsterdam acrylic inks. I do use them for dripping. So when I do backgrounds, I sometimes like to do those drips. Other paints I have is like the golden. They also have the heavy body, soft body and the high flow. So let's start with the high flow. I use it for the same reason. I want to have drips. So here we go. Then they have the soft body, which they call fluid acrylics. Would be nice if those paint companies would have a system, unified system, so yeah, but everybody has his own names for those things. And then the heavy body. Again, you can do textures. Now, the golden I use mostly because I like certain colors or certain hues. I don't like the sheen so much they tend to have, so I prefer actually the Amsterdam because they don't have such a sheen. Then I also do have, sometimes I just choose something because I like the color, like this Le Franc Bourgeois Violet Pale. It's just a beautiful color which I like. That's a reason for me to buy a paint. What I also recently found is those Bibea, which are between student grade and artist grade, but they're monopigment and they are an eco product which I like. So they say it is, it has high viscosity, which means soft body, 100% recycled binding medium, and the 31% less plastic because they use like an outer paper thingy, not full plastic. I haven't played with them yet, but I think they're nice too. So yeah, those are those. So that's what I have in acrylic paint. Now obviously I do have more paints than what you have seen on the screen here, but I will put a photo from my IKEA cart where I do store my paints right up here in the right upper corner. Now let's move on to water-soluble supplies. I do have watercolors, which I use a lot also in the art journal especially. So let me show the ones I reach for the most. I'm gonna sample them on this cover from the watercolor paper pad from Sennelier, because I'm not going to use that anyway. But I also do have a piece of a Fabriano watercolor paper. They are both heavy watercolors papers, both around 140 pounds. But one is a rough texture and the Fabriano is very smooth, which makes a difference with watercolors. Now, I know you can't see all the watercolor things I have here, but here I have the Kuretake. This is my tin with the Daniel Smith colors. But I also do use things like Jane Davenport, and I even have here in this middle row, that's not Jane Davenport, there are some Hordam, which I could put in right in between, so to speak. I do have my water here, and let's see. Now, I like Daniel Smith also for his granulating colors, but for granulating watercolors you need paper with texture. And I'm gonna use, I don't know whether you can see it on camera, but I do have like little red stars, which for those colors which are really nice granulating. That is like the Piemonte Genuine, that is this one. So, and the difference when you put it onto a smooth paper. Again, I'm gonna add pictures of the finished. I'm pretty sure you can't see it that much on the screen right now, but I will take pictures and have it inserted here. Then I do have the, that was the wrong one, but the Rose Ultramarine is also a granulating color. And it just looks different on a smooth paper. What else could we try? The Undersea Green, which I like. It's one of my favorite greens I have. The Undersea Green. And then here on the smooth paper. And Jane Davenport, they are, as you can see, not really cleaned, because I really use them mostly in art journals, because, yeah. Even those which are not specific granulating look different from the close-up than on the flat paper. So when I use them in the art journals, I usually don't have watercolor paper, so they look rather like that. The Kuretake are more opaque and more playful, and I do like the colors, especially for the Art Nouveau set which I have here. So let's see. Maybe cobalt turquoise light. Sounds good to me. I like turquoise or teal. Next I need a little bit more. So those are the watercolors. Again, they are not all the watercolors I have, but that are my main go-to watercolors I use. And then we move on to the colored pencils and other pencils. So I do have this Garandage Supracolors, which are water-soluble. And then we're gonna use water to move them around. Maybe one color. And depending on a little bit how much you work them, or how much layers, how much pressure you give, it gives a different color. I mean, it is more covering up. I also do have the Derwent Inktense, and that's really something I like very much in art journaling, because they are what they're ink-based. Those are color-based, pigment-based, and those are ink-based. And you can use them dry if you like. They're nice too, as dry version. Again, I'm using a lot of pigments right now. And maybe with this color I do it a little bit lighter. And then I usually use, when I'm working in my art journals, with the water tank brush, but you can use a brush too. Now you get the intense color from the Inktense. Then I also do have Prismacolors, which obviously they're wax-based. They are not water-soluble, but I like also to use them in combination with watercolor. So no, it's not dry yet. Not dry yet. So again, light application or heavy application. You can mix them. Maybe not the best sample here. What else do I have from those? Let's grab another color which we can mix nicely. Again, on the fine paper, on the smooth paper, it looks different than on the rough paper. That's for the color stuff, but I do use a lot, those who follow me since a while, I do use a lot of the Watercolor Nero. They have different strengths, like medium, soft, and very soft, something like that. I mostly use the medium. And I have the Stabilo All. We all know that art journalists use them a lot. Again, this is water soluble. So when I go in with the brush, I can play with it. Oops, sorry. Come down a little bit. So just light and then go into the dark. Move it down, which you can do with the Nero. It is an oil-based charcoal. There are other brands out there. Again, it's easy access for me with this brand. And when you go over, I hope I have a clean brush. It doesn't move really, so it's not water soluble. Last but not least, we have again a water soluble medium, the Neocolor 2. I do have the Neocolor ones too, but I rarely use them. I prefer those. So I can move those around and make sort of a watercolor. Now those Neo pastels I rather smear with my fingers. That's something I do as a last thing when I paint. I mostly use this for painting. I rarely use them in an art journal. So I'm gonna smear them around, and I can pull them out, and yes, you can see it. Now those mediums I also use for mark making, and even the colored pencil sometimes. That's my initial layer sometimes when I start a painting or even an art journal page. I use those supplies. I also do have Posca pens for highlights. I do have like Micron pens and things like that, but those are my main supplies which I think I really need for my daily practice. That are my colorful supplies, but of course I also need things like a gel mat to glue down collage papers, or a gesso. Sometimes I use gesso as instead of white acrylic also. I do have black and transparent also, but I rarely use those. And for thin collage papers I use matte medium, but I also use it when I want the color to be more transparent. I mix matte medium into the paint itself. Also, I have a lot of stencils and stamps with my own designs. The stencil I do myself, the stamps I let produce. I do have rubber stamps and I do have photopolymer stamps. Now, obviously, I don't use the stamps so much in my paintings, rarely, occasionally, but I do a lot of art journaling, and that's where I use my stencils and my stamps too. Stencils I do use in paintings. And I do have a lot of distress ink also, and again I'm not using that in my paintings, but rather on art journaling, and I do art journal quite a lot. I'm not talking today about tools like brushes, spatulas and so on, or papers and canvases, because that's a topic for itself. That's probably going to be a separate video. That was a look at the supplies I actually use. From the first marks on a painting to the last touches in an art journal page. If you have any questions, just leave them down below in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer questions. You also can find more information in the description down below. And if you want to see the supplies in action, just watch some of my videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I see you in the next Friday video. Bye!